Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Our Home Ground. I am so excited to be back for another episode, as I always am. There is so much to talk about today, and I'm so excited about it. So, we're going to talk NWSL, we're going to talk Champions League, we're going to talk WSL, we'll talk a little bit about Asian Cup, we'll wrap that up. And then also, there's a new podcast that's coming out that I'm really excited about. So, we'll talk about that for a little bit too. Buckle up, I'm going to be talking fast. There's so much to cover. So, let's just get into it. First thing I want to talk about today is the Champions League because that's what's on my mind. I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 24th, and today Arsenal is playing Chelsea at home in the Champions League. Lyon is playing Wolfsburg at Wolfsburg in like an hour from when I'm recording this. And so much exciting football is happening today. And then tomorrow, Real Madrid is playing Barca, and Manchester United is playing Bayern Munich. These are all going to be fantastic games, I hope. I'm really excited about it. We get two rivalries in the Champions League. Like, this is so exciting and so fun. And I want to give like a little bit of a prediction about what I think is going to happen in the Champions League because I like refrained from doing that before, but I just think why not? So, there's some interesting stuff. Obviously, I am paying the closest attention right now to the Arsenal versus Chelsea matchup because a London derby is always so fun. Arsenal versus Chelsea is always so fun. And I think on the surface, we probably would have assumed that Chelsea would like dominate these kinds of games. At least in the past couple of years, they've gone Chelsea's ways. Maybe not dominated, but like certainly hasn't been an Arsenal domination of late. Although they did have that 1-4-1 win, but I think that was like 2 years ago now. Anyways, so they're playing at the Emirates tonight, but they both had open training sessions yesterday where media could go to the training sessions. And both of the teams are a little bit in shambles at the moment. And I'm saying that with like a smile and like giggle in my voice, but like it's actually a real problem. Chelsea at the start of training had 8 outfield players in full team training. That is not enough to field a team. Sonia Bonpastor was asked about it and she said, no worries, we do have enough players for tomorrow. But she made a joke about how, like, oh, I thought we were playing World Sevens tomorrow, which is like good for her. That's funny. She said that they have things under control, I think was kind of her answer to that. Which if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be freaking out, but I'm not. Certainly don't wish ill on any of the players. Of course, Sam Kerr and Ellie Carpenter are not going to be available tonight, should not be available tonight because of the Asian Cup. And then they also have all kinds of injuries with Millie Bright, Natalie Bjorn. Who else? Aggie went down midweek, but there was like Sonia said there's a chance that she'll be available tonight. Aggie Beaver Jones, if I didn't say her last name there. I'm trying to remember. I didn't write down all the injuries, but they have some like major ones. Fortunately, it was announced that Natalie Bjorn is out for the rest of the season. She made her debut and got re-injured in the same game. Or made her like re-debut from injury and then picked up a new injury or exacerbated the injury. I'm not exactly sure, but that's a real bummer there. So hopefully they can field a team tonight, although they did add 3 academy players to their roster as it's a 23-person bench, not just 20 like it is during league games. Will be interesting to see who they put out tonight. Arsenal is not without its own issues. Leah Williamson is out, I think, with a hamstring injury right now. So that's not good. Beth Mead is still in her sort of like building back minutes after her injury, though she did play a decent number of minutes over this past weekend. So we'll see what happens there. And then Kyra Cooney-Cross, Caitlin Ford, and Steph Catley will not be available tonight either, again, because of the Asian Cup. So it'll be really interesting to see what these teams do and to see who is out there and just to see what happens because there is so much like passion, rivalry involved in this game. But I'm gonna give a score prediction, and I was on Lucy Casey's podcast. We recorded it yesterday. It will release on Friday, the Friday after this podcast releases. And she asked me to give a score prediction, and I'm feeling 3-1 to Arsenal. I still feel that way. But then as we were talking about it, we're like, it's either going to be like a big goal difference, hopefully to Arsenal, or it's going to be like tied, I feel like. But there's a vibe about Arsenal right now that feels really good. And there's a vibe about Chelsea right now that feels like chaotic and like a little bit unsteady in a way that as somebody who is not a Chelsea fan, I appreciate. I would not appreciate if I was a Chelsea fan. So there's that. I'm saying 3-1 to the Arsenal this evening. And I did make a joke that Chelsea loves to lose a Champions League game 4-1. They did it twice last year to Barcelona. So maybe, just maybe, we'll just see what happens. I'm excited. It's going to be an insane game. So I cannot wait to tune into that. Wolfsburg versus Lyon. I think Lyon will take this pretty handily. I also said on Lucy's podcast that this is Lindsey Heaps' last season with Lyon, and she has loved playing for them. So I think she will do everything within her power to drag this team to a Champions League final if it's the last thing that she does. She is a mentality monster. I would be hard pressed to find many players that have a stronger sort of like winning mentality than she does. And so that can motivate a team like you would not believe. This team like playing for each other. They've got a lot of players with a lot of experience in the Champions League, but a good mix of like newer, younger players too. So I'm really excited to see how they play and how this game goes. But I'm gonna say it's gonna be I was gonna say 3-1 again to Lyon, but maybe 3-0. Maybe they'll keep a clean sheet. So we'll see about that. And then tomorrow, the day that this podcast released, on Wednesday the 25th, Real Madrid plays Barcelona. And it's so interesting because I don't I think and I didn't look this up and I probably should have, but there's a stat that like obviously Real Madrid and Barca are supposed to be like rivals, and they are. It's a big rivalry. Like you can hear the players talk about it. But Real Madrid never wins. Barcelona always wins. I think Real Madrid has only beaten Barcelona like women has only beaten Barcelona like once. And maybe it's 0 times. Like I'm not exactly sure, but it's like a tragically low number for them. And so I'm giving this one to Barca, but I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be 2-0 to Barca in the first leg. And then I think the second leg will be a bigger score line. I didn't give score lines for the second leg for the other two, but it's so hard to like predict when you don't know exactly what's going to happen. And then, especially for Arsenal Chelsea, they'll have their Asian Cup players back, hopefully in the next leg on April 1st. So who knows? And then Manchester United plays Bayern, and I think this is going to be a good game. Although Man United is not in great form at the moment. They started the season so well and so strongly, and it just like hasn't continued for them of late. They're in a rough run of form. But if you'll remember back to last year, this is what happened to Arsenal. Arsenal was not in great form and then just played so well in the Champions League and won the whole thing. So anything is possible, but I'm going to give 2-1 to Bayern on the first leg, and then we'll see what happens on the second leg. Maybe I'll do new predictions for next week, but we'll see. And by the time you listen to this, you'll know if my predictions about at least tonight's games were right. And we'll see how this ages, and hopefully it ages really, really well for Arsenal. But I think at the end of it, I'm predicting Arsenal moves through over Chelsea. I'm predicting Lyon moves through over Wolfsburg, Barca over Real Madrid, and I think Bayern will move through over United. And then I think Barca's taking Bayern, and I think the Arsenal Lyon matchup would be so fun because again, this like Lindsey Heaps of it all. Not that she's the only player. They have so many talented players, and I think I am arguing that they underestimated Arsenal last year and they will not be caught dead doing that again. And so they're going to show up as like their very best team, or they're going to try, obviously, to show up as their very best team and not lose 4-1 at home again like they did last year. So, anyways, and then I don't know who I'm predicting to be in the final. I think it'll be Barca. And my heart says Arsenal. Obviously, my heart says Arsenal's winning the whole thing, but I just think it's going to be a Lyon Barca final, which is always exciting because they have created their own kind of rivalry in the Champions League because they're both just historically so good in the Champions League. So I think that would be a fun game to watch. But who knows? We'll see what happens, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right. That wraps up the Champions League of it all. I'm so excited. I'm also so excited for the CBS coverage. I love the CBS team in the US. It's so good. So, very excited for more of that this week. All right, moving on. Let's talk NWSL. Week 2 was somehow crazier than week 1. I don't understand. There were some upsets or some things that I wouldn't have predicted happening. Red cards, like so many red cards have been happening, so it's crazy. So we'll just kind of run through the games. On Friday night, Racing Louisville tied Washington Spirit 2-2. And I was hoping that this would be different for Racing Louisville this year. They went up 2-0 in the first half and then conceded 2 goals in the second half. They last season also had difficulty finishing games. They tended to allow late goals, especially in the last 15 minutes. They did not do that this time. I think it was in the like 73rd minute that the second goal went in, I think. So, not quite the last 15 minutes, but I mean, it's right there. So, I really, really want them to be able to finish games well. Like, they put themselves in such a good position. I want them to be able to finish well. Emma Sears broke the record for like longest run with the ball to score a goal. I think it was like 83 yards. Is that right? Yeah, I think that would make sense, which is the longest distance since the data has been collected, which was like 2016 they started collecting it. So I'm so hot on her. I've been saying that. I think she's incredible. Big fan of hers. So is Emma Hayes. So I feel like I'm onto something there. So that was that. Portland Thorns played Seattle Reign, the Cascadia Rivalries. Second week of the season is crazy, but so fun. I love when those two teams play each other. And the Portland Thorns got two red cards. Two red cards. One of which was in the 9th minute. I'm sorry, what? That's crazy. So they played almost the entire game down one player. And then they got a second red card in the 57th minute. So then they played the last, whatever, 30 some odd minutes of the game down two players. And guess what? They still won 2-0. That is so insane to me that Seattle could be up two players and not win the game. Anyways, they always say it's like not as easy to beat a team that's down one player because they just sort of like take out the most attacking role and transition more defensively. But two players, like you should be outnumbering them the whole time. But that is not what happened. Portland still scored 2 goals down a player and then held them off until the end of the game. So good for them, I guess. Also on Friday, Orlando Pride played Denver Summit and they tied 1-1. I think Denver is a very, very strong expansion side. I'm excited to see what they do this season, especially once Lindsey Heaps gets there as well. But they've done some really great things. I think we're all expecting the Orlando Pride to be quite good again this year. So that feels like potentially a little bit surprising to me, but we'll just see what happens. It's still so early, but every point counts in this league because it's crazy here. On Saturday, Houston Dash beat Boston Legacy 3-0, which historically the Houston Dash have not been very good. So for them to sort of like smash Boston is crazy. I think people are very concerned about Boston and their ability to do well in this league based on the current roster that they have, and I think that's kind of valid. I think they're lacking a lot of experience. They have a lot of young players or players who are not used to playing in the NWSL. So we'll just see how they evolve, and we'll go from there. Gotham tied North Carolina Courage 0-0. That doesn't feel that surprising to me. I feel like there's like a little bit of a rivalry situation there. I don't think people would necessarily agree with me, but there's just something about when North Carolina plays Gotham that I feel like they both really, really especially want to win that game. And neither one of them did because they tied. And then Angel City beat Bay FC at Bay FC 3-1. Angel City is off to a hot start. Granted, they did play Chicago first and then Bay FC second, who neither one were playoff contenders last season. So, keeping it all in perspective, I think there's been a lot of conversation about, like, oh my God, Angel City's title contenders this year. And I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves on that one. But I do think that they will hopefully be playoff contenders. I hope that they're pushing for the title because I just want them to do well. I like a lot of the individual players they have. I was originally an Angel City supporter. Not that I'm like not a supporter now, but just I feel a little bit weird that they sold in the manner that they did. Anyways, that's not what this is about. But there was another red card in this game, though it was in the 90 plus eighth minute. So didn't have too much impact on the game. All of the goals had already been scored, and certainly it was near the end of the game. And then on Sunday, Chicago Stars beat Kansas City Current 2-1. And I think people are also taking this a little bit too seriously in that they're saying that Kansas City is trash and blah. I don't think that's true. I think Chicago had a great game. I think Kansas City had a not so good game. They have a new coach. It's very early in the season. They have lost Claire Hutton. I mean, they traded her, but like she's not there anymore. And I think it's really easy to undervalue what your holding midfielder can do for you and the structure that they can provide to your team. So they've got some adjusting to do there. We'll see what ends up happening with Kansas City, but like good for Chicago taking points off the like title holders coming into this season. So I like it. And then final game of the weekend, Utah lost to San Diego 2-1. I didn't watch this game. I don't have much to say other than there was another red card in the 83rd minute. Utah got a red card. So if you're counting, that's 4 red cards this weekend, 2 red cards last weekend. That's already 6 red cards this season, and that was the end of week 2. Ridiculous because all of last season there were 11 red cards total. And so we're already over halfway past that in the second week. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. There was also like a ridiculous number of yellow cards, and I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was like insane. So intriguing to see if that trend continues, if there's like a difference in refereeing this year, how it affects the games, all of that. So that is something that I'm watching there. NWSL games, we have midweek games this week. I think everybody is playing in the middle of the week, so that will be fun and exciting. There are games on Wednesday, so maybe not everybody's playing because I know there are games on Wednesday, and I should have looked at when the rest of them are, but there's just so much going on. I cannot keep up with all of it. So that wraps up the NWSL, and let's just keep moving. Next thing I want to talk about is the WSL. There were a couple of midweek games and then weekend games. So midweek, Manchester United played West Ham and they tied 0-0. And this one's always a fascinating one to me because I feel like West Ham is usually lower in the table, but then just like shows up and gives these like top 4 teams, the Chelsea, United, City, and Arsenal, like a run for their money randomly. Like usually a couple of them every season, and but then they like lose games that you would then expect them to win. So it's a very bizarre situation that's happening here, but they tied 0-0 with United over the weekend, not over the weekend, midweek. And then Chelsea beat Brighton 2-1 also in the midweek. So not overly surprising there. That's a result that I would have expected. So good for them. The only 2 games I want to mention from the weekend are London City Lionesses tied Chelsea 1-1. And the only reason I think this is worth noting is because that means that Chelsea has dropped more points and the table is so tight at the top, especially between third and fourth, who is going to get that last spot for the Champions League, I think is super tight. So really keeping an eye out on that because not only are they not fighting for the title anymore, they're really having to fight to even make Champions League, which feels like it would be insane for Chelsea to not be in Champions League because they won the WSL 6 years in a row, so they were always in Champions League. So just like a crazy thing to think about. And then Arsenal beat West Ham 5-0. 5-0. Like I said, West Ham usually gives the top 4 teams, at least a couple of them, a tough game every season. And that usually it's to Arsenal. I always get nervous when Arsenal plays West Ham. There's like something about it that it often doesn't go as well as you would think that it would for Arsenal. But this weekend it did. Hat trick from Chloe Kelly, although the first goal was originally given to Sina Blackstenius and then it was reallocated to Chloe Kelly for her, and then that made her have a hat trick. So excited to see her back in form, back playing post injury. So that's a really, really good sign that she was starting that game. Gives us back our 4 winger options, hopefully all like healthy enough to play meaningful minutes. Although I say that Caitlin Ford is currently not available for the Champions League game because she just got back from the Asian Cup. that's what we're going to talk about there. I think the rest of the games over the weekend were pretty predictable, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time because there's just too many things to talk about. I have to pare it down. So we will go ahead and move on. I just want to touch on the Asian Cup final. Japan beat Australia 1-0 in the final. And I just I hate seeing how sad players are after they lose. For anyone, like I don't particularly support Japan, but I and I would have been sad to see their players sad too, I think is what I'm trying to say. But the Aussie girls were so sad, and I am like invested in many of them. Like I want them to do well. And two of the saddest interviews that I saw were Steph Catley and Caitlin Ford. Caitlin Ford had a couple of big chances that for whatever reason didn't get finished, and she took that really, really hard. She said that she's taking a lot of the blame, or was like at least intimating that. She's like, it's just so hard when I had three chances that I could have put away and I didn't, and you could just hear that what was underneath what she was saying. And so very sad. She ended up not being at the Matildas did an appearance the next day to sort of like thank the fans. It was a fan engagement thing. And Caitlin Ford wasn't there. They said that a couple of their players had to get back to club faster, but I don't know what really happened there. Nobody does. But I just hope that she's not too hard on herself. It's team sport, and sure, like yeah, capitalize on opportunities and learn from it and grow from it, but like there's no need to punish yourself for it. And then Steph Catley also gave a very sad interview about how much the team means to her and how she was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. She was like crying. It was very sad. But congratulations to Japan. They're an excellent team, an excellent side, and I am excited for them. Like, I think it's a big deal that they won the Asian Cup. I think we need to be talking more about the Asian Cup and giving it the kind of celebration and importance that it deserves. I think the players made some really interesting points about how like the Euros would never be in the middle of like league seasons, at least European league seasons, which I mean the NWSL season, the Euros is smack dab in the middle of it, but so is the World Cup and the Olympics, right? Like the NWSL has chosen to be on this calendar. That is basically the opposite of every other calendar. So that is its own thing. But Ellie Carpenter made some comments about it. Some other players did as well. And so I think that is important because it's their federation's championship that happens every 4 years in the same way that the Euros is UEFA's federations. I shouldn't be saying both of those things. I'm sure I don't know, whatever. The European Federation's championship is the Euros. And so I just think we need to give it the respect that it's due. So that's why I keep talking about it. Congratulations to Japan. Very excited for them. And they're playing the US women's national team 3 times in April. So it should be great competition, should be really good games. I'm really, really excited for that. All right. Moving on to our second to last topic, and this is maybe a little bit confusing, but I want to talk about it's actually related to the Men's World Cup, which is taking place in the United States this summer. Just crazy. But we're not getting into that. I don't have time or honestly the energy to talk about all of that. But the Adidas and Nike have dropped the kits for the teams who are for all of their national teams, some of whom are participating and some of whom are not, and some are still there's like a one more round of playing games or something to that effect. And when I tell you these Adidas jerseys are gorgeous, they're gorgeous, all of them. They did such a good job. I love them so much. They didn't drop new home kits. The national teams got new home kits. I don't know, after the Euros, between the Euros and now. I think it was like towards the end of last year. So they all got new away kits going into the World Cup and the men's World Cup, but the women, is my understanding, are also going to be wearing these jerseys. And they're so pretty. And I love them, so many of them, so much. I as far as ones that I am interested in purchasing or potentially have already purchased. I like a kit that's a little bit simpler and then has like a little bit of flair. I don't love a super, super loud kit every time. Occasionally I do. So on that note, I think the chili one is so pretty, but that one's a little too bold for me with like the pink and the like pattern on it. I think it's gorgeous, but my top 3 favorites are I love the Spain white. It's so nice. I like the way that the collar's done on it. There's like a subtle pattern on the white. I think it's really, really nicely done. So I did order that one. I ordered an Ona Battier one, and I'm really excited about it because I've wanted a Spain kit for a while, but it's been really difficult to find a Spain shirt with the women's name on them. So Spanish Federation, I'm not surprised by you, but do better. And then my second so I think Spain's my third favorite. My second favorite is Japan's. I love a pinstripe. I love a pinstripe kit. I think it's so classy and it's white with like rainbow colored pinstripes. I think it's so good. So I did order that one as well. I ordered a Yui Hasegawa shirt and I'm so excited about it because I just think she's incredible. Big, big fan. And then the last and my most favorite kit is the German one. I love the Germany kit. It's like navy blue with this like light blue kind of pattern on it. I think it's sick. And the only reason I haven't ordered that one yet is because they are not offering it with the women's personalization like names on the back yet, but I will own one. And you can like customize it and put whatever name you want on the back, but the badge has the 4 stars on it because the men have won it 4 times. The women have only won it twice. So the women's kit has 2 stars on it from the World Cup. And so I want one with the women's badge, but you can't customize those ones yet. So I will be keeping a close eye on that because I need that German kit. I don't know who I'm going to get on the back, and I like to have a player on the back of my shirt. I know some people don't, but for me, I really, really like it. So I haven't decided who I'm going to get yet. So I will be thinking about that, and I will be deciding probably on the day that I notice that I can order the shirt. But I just love a football shirt. I wear them all the time. I wear them when I go out with my friends. They're probably annoyed about it. I don't really care. They'll probably be happy that I stop wearing Arsenal shirts all the time. And you know what? That's fair enough because I do wear them all the time because I love them. Anyways, that's what I have to say about that. I'm so excited. I love when new kits release. Oh, well, I guess I should say that Nike also released theirs and they're boring. I'm bored. Nike, I am bored. Do something artistic, push the boundaries a little. Like, I don't know. I'm just bored. I'm bored of it. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Maybe that's a hot take. I, again, like, I think some of the ideas were good and just the execution wasn't there. I think overall, my favorite are France's. I do not like the US ones. I'm not ordering either one of them because I don't like them. And I do love to order a US Women's National Team kit, but I'm not ordering these ones. They're ugly. I'll wait for the Women's World Cup and just like hope that they get a new shirt for that because I can't. But the France ones I think are pretty good. The home with the blue with the white collar, it's classic, but like a little retro with a modern twist. I like it. I'm okay with that one. And then they did their away one as like the color of the Statue of Liberty, oxidized copper. I don't know what color that actually is. It's like a greenish color. So it's like it is in honor of the Statue of Liberty, which I think is really cool as a concept because France gifted the United States the Statue of Liberty. And then it's France playing in the World Cup in the US. Like, that's brilliant. That's so good. And then the execution is just boring. They do the same design for everyone and just like change the color. It's this or pattern. It's the same design as the US away with these like weird like piping on the shoulders that like doesn't sit right. I hate it. Sorry, I should be nicer about it. It's not for me. I love it for others if you guys enjoy it, but it's just not for me. Disappointing by Nike, I'll say it. Love the Adidas ones. I could go on and on about like all of them that I love for different reasons, and they're just so like artistic and fun, and I really appreciate that. So, moving on to our last thing that I want to talk about today. I just saw it. I had a couple of friends text me about it because they know me and I feel very, very seen. Lindsey Heaps and Sam Mewis are launching a new podcast that will be out, they're saying monthly under the women's game umbrella with Men in Blazers. And it's called The Captain. So Lindsey Heaps, it's like her show, and she'll be doing it once a month. They'll be telling stories. It'll be very much in the like Sam Mewis kind of style where it is like telling stories, sharing information, life updates, like all that kind of stuff. And I'm really, really excited about it. I do think it's interesting, and I think some people are pointing out that yes, Lindsey Heaps is currently the captain of the U.S. Women's National Team, but I think there are some like open questions about her starting position, based on some of the things that Emma Hayes has been doing of late. But I also think Emma Hayes has continued to be very vocal about what an important leader Lindsey is for the team. So you can be one of the captains and not start. Megan Rapinoe did it at the World Cup. Like there's ways to do it. And so even if like Naomi Girma ends up like wearing the armband more because she's starting, like I think Lindsey Heaps will be the captain or one of the captains of this team until she retires. And so I think it's great. Even if she wasn't the captain after this, I don't know. I just think it's great that it's called the captain. I love it. It's pushing boundaries. And I also think that Lindsey Heaps is somebody who oftentimes gets like clipped and taken out of context or we don't give a charitable read to. So I'm excited for her to be a little bit in control of like her own narrative, share her own personal experiences in this like longer form way, not these like short post-match interviews where like maybe she says some like stuff that she doesn't give full context to or full explanation of and then gets like taken and people are like mad at her about, like dumb American soccer fans. I I will die on the hill that I actually think she was right about that, and I just think that we're not prepared to accept that, but, like, I do think she's right, and also she was, like, talking about her own mom, so, like, she was not afraid to ruffle a few feathers, she's, like, talking smack about her own mom. Anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's long gone now, but yeah, anyways, I'm really, really excited about that. I think that rounds it up. I think that's all the things I have to say today, which was a lot of things. We talked about so many of the exciting things that are happening. There's so much soccer, football happening at the moment, and I couldn't be happier about it. So, hopefully for you, the weather is as gorgeous where you are as it is where I am. The sun is shining, it is spring. The pollen count is like out of control, but that is a price I'm willing to pay to have the sun and the warmth. And so, I hope everybody, if you have a chance, get outside, get some sun on your skin, feel brought back to life this spring into summer season. And if you're on the other hemisphere of the world where you are looking towards fall and winter, I hope that you can find some magic in that too. I don't know. Anyways, have a great week, everybody. I will be here back next week. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think you know who I should get on the back of my Germany kit, or if you think I'm crazy for having other national teams kits. That's okay. Just let me know. All right. Have a good one, everyone. See you next time.